Ladies and gentlemen, the international break is pretty much at its conclusion and we are full steam ahead to game week 12. And game week 12 has got my energy back up and about because, as per usual, the FPL God has decided that the game has become a little bit stale. So what best to do than throw up Flag City across the board? And look, my team is no different to a lot of yours out there. I have two flags, actually three. I had three flag players in my team. One of them is now no longer in my team. As we already know, Dan Burn has already made way for Munoz. But I've obviously got the issues of Semenyo and Gabriel, and everyone is probably here to consume content about that. And I'm here to break it all down with all my transfer tips for game week 12. Again, if you enjoy this content, make sure you smash a like on the video. Leave us a comment with what you're doing with your team. How many players are you affected by? And if you haven't already, please consider smashing that subscribe button. We've just hit 4,000. So again, thank you very much to everyone out there that is subscribing. You guys are amazing, and that's why I do it. So with that being said, let's get into it. So your question straight off the bat, and look, the first one that's obviously on most people's minds is because, in fact, 42% of the entire game's minds is Gabriel. And yes, I've got him in my own team, and this is what happens. I bought Gabriel for one game week last season, and he got injured, and he lasted about 15 minutes, whatever it was. Whenever he did that hamstring, that was the week I bought him last season. This season I bought him. I get the 12-pointer on captaincy, and then I get the 1-pointer, and then he's injured. And I'm like, maybe it's just me. Maybe if I buy Gabriel, I'm booking in two transfers. One to move him in, one to move him out. Lesson learnt, don't buy Gabriel. No, honestly, it's very unfortunate, but it is going to throw a few spanners in the works. And look, I'm at one of those positions where I bought him at 6.4 million. So I will be selling this week if he looks like he's dropping from 6.6, because that will affect my selling price. I'll lose the 0.1 I've made on him, because remember, I can only sell for like the 0.1 half of what you want. So for example, if you bought him at 6 mil, you could sell him at the moment for 6.3. If he drops to 6.5, you're only going to be able to sell him for 6.2. So that's why I will be selling him, preserving my team value, because I've now come back to the reason over the international break and my sickness, and I still sound a bit blocked, whatever. I've come to realize that I'm not playing this game the same way as I did last year. And last year, I was all about increasing the team value as early as possible, moving on, and then being ruthless, taking hits, and I'm back. I'm back, baby. I'm going back to that route, and I'm going to see if I can just resurrect the season as quickly as possible. Now, so for that reason, if you've got, I think it's just a sell. That's pretty much what I'd base off what I've read anyway. So what on earth do I do with all the flag players? Now, I've seen some teams in the WhatsApp group, and remember, it's free to join. Links in the video description. Also, the pinned comment on the video. If you've got a lot of players that are flagged, do you just press the free hit button? Do you press the wildcard button if you've still got either of those chips available? I mean, some of these players that are flagged, I think, are going to be longer term issues, and I'm going to try and break that down a little bit later on in this video, so make sure you watch out for that bit. But it is concerning. When you see so many yellows and reds in your flag, you're like, how many players are actually going to show up to play for my team this week? It's scary. I get it. And I had that a couple of times last season. Thankfully, most of them turned out. But this also happens at this international break. Now, I talked about wildcard draft. My original plan was to wildcard in game week 12, and I just wish that I'd stuck with the plan, because last season it worked wonders and I ended up with an amazing rank. This season I'd sat there and bottled it, wildcarded in 6, and I looked at the team, and we'll have a look at the draft I put together later on in this draft about the wildcard draft I put together. But I'm telling you, it looks crazily good, crazily good. Now, are Liverpool assets actually worth the risk? I'm not sure. I'm not sure, to be honest. People sit there, and I've Kunji, who's on the Pubcast later tonight, he's a Liverpool fan, basically raving and ranting about how good Szoboszlai and Virgil van Dijk's going to be. I'm not convinced. I've watched a lot of Liverpool games this season, and I just haven't been impressed. I haven't been impressed with Salah. I haven't been impressed with Van Dijk. I haven't been impressed with any of them. I actually think they're overrated, overpriced assets, based on the form I've seen through this part of the season. And we're going to have a look at the best Gabriel replacements later on that I put together. And Virgil van Dijk is in that 4, where I think a lot of people will go. And I'm telling you why I'm not going to be going there. So I'm not convinced until they start putting some run together. They've literally won one game in the last 6 Premier League games. And that was because Martinez pretty much kicked the ball to Mo Salah for a free goal. Other than that, they have been woeful in the league. Woeful. So I don't know. I think you can just dodge them, to be honest. Who's the best asset to buy this week? Now, I would argue it's probably a Crystal Palace asset. If you haven't got a defender, it's probably a Crystal Palace defender. If you haven't got a midfielder or Sarr, it's probably Sarr. And if you haven't got a forward, it's definitely Mateta. So that's where I would go. Wolves is definitely... I know... What are we going to expect from Wolves? I'm not sure, but I still think they're going to be crap. Like, their players in general just aren't very good this season. They sold their best 2 players. They didn't replace them with the same quality, and it's showing because they haven't won a game through 11 game weeks. I don't see that changing. So for that reason, I just think I wouldn't be going there. I think that targeting Wolves moving forward is the smart play. If you're looking for 1 week punts or fixtures that are coming up, Wolves is the number 1 fixture. Burnley's number 2. And then from there, you can argue whether Leeds or West Ham are number 3. How feasible is a United or City triple up? Now, sneak peek for the late mail on Friday, I'll be looking at whether a United midfield triple up is actually viable. And the reason why is because there is no Europe. They're all guaranteed starters. They're all guaranteed minutes. And they are literally averaging over the last 5 game weeks 2 goals a game minimum. And with the fixtures coming up, that could even increase to 3 as a very strong case to be tripling up on Manchester United attack. I'll just put it straight out the bat. City also, if you can nail those assets and you have a little bit of luck on the Pep Roulette table, again, sneak peek for Friday's late mail, that's also, I think it's actually quite feasible to triple up on both of those teams, especially next week onwards. United this week onwards. City maybe this week, but probably next week onwards. Semenyo and Enzo are flagged, and a lot of people own them. I own Semenyo, 62%, I think, of the game. Still currently own him. He's one of the most sold midfielders this week, but that's not a surprise considering so many people own him. Like, if you're going to sell someone, it's probably someone with a yellow flag. Enzo as well as flagged. Should you be worried? On those two, I don't think you should be worried about Enzo whatsoever. Semenyo, the good news is Iraola is always honest at his press conferences. So if he says Semenyo's good to go, he's going to be good to go. If he says that Semenyo's no good, he's going to be no good. There is no smoke and mirrors, but there's smoke and mirrors in the media and every other big content creator at the moment. I don't know what to think. If you ask me for a gut feeling, I reckon it's about 70-30 he plays. Based on, I haven't heard the press conference yet, but based on the information available now, that's what I would suggest. So yeah, lots of interesting questions this week, and it is going to be a pivotal week for a lot of teams. So on to the most onto the most transferred in defensive assets this week. So I can't believe this, but Pep Roulette, people are hopping on board the table, and it's not for Matheus Nunes or Vardiol, it's for Nico O'Reilly. Now, Nico O'Reilly's already risen in price. He was at 4.9. He's risen to 5 this week. If you ask me, out of those 3 assets, the one I like the least, it's actually O'Reilly. I think Matheus Nunes has got way less competition on the right-hand side of the defence. Yes, you have to pay 0.3 more. And yes, Vardiol is 5.8, and you have to pay 0.8 more. But I just think that those 2 are more walk-up starters. Plus, I don't think they're going to be coming off the bench if they are benched. Whereas Nico O'Reilly has played in every single game bar 1, and 3 of them were from off the bench. That is concerning. He's more than capable of actually starting and getting really good scores. He's also very much capable of coming off and getting you a 1-pointer. So for that reason, I'm very surprised that he's the most transferred in asset this week in defence, when it should be Munoz. And I've obviously put this graphic together yesterday before he rose in price. He's now currently 5.8 mil, but he's definitely, if you haven't got him this week and you're selling Gabriel, he's the unbelievable standout. Like, straight off the bat. Now, obviously, lots of people on wildcard potentially move Gabriel in, or other people have just moved him in this week. That's very unfortunate. You're probably going to have to say that really should be a red exclamation mark, I believe. I'll be shocked if it doesn't turn red before the weekend's game. Yeah, it's very unfortunate if you bought him. Timber, now, He wasn't on there until today. Like when I put this, I had to redo this entire graphic because Timber was not on there. He was way down the pecking order. He's now number the 4th most. So a lot of people are getting rid of Gabriel and staying on the Arsenal defence and either staying on a double up or whatever, or single player. I've got no interest in the Arsenal defence outside of game week 16 for the next 8 game weeks or something like that. I just don't rate their fixtures from a defensive perspective. So, yeah, I don't quite understand that one. Again, Virgil van Dijk, the masses, the sheep, they're moving with I don't know what they're moving with. But I don't have Nottingham Forest as an easy fixture. I have West Ham away as a game where Jarrett Bowen's going to score against that woeful left-hand side of Liverpool's defence. And then I've also got Sunderland going to Liverpool and scoring a goal. These are the 3 fixtures everyone's banging on about. They're really good for Liverpool. I actually think, come back here and quote this, or you can clip it up, whatever you want to do. Liverpool will concede in 2 of the next 3 game weeks. 100%. You can put your money on it. I don't know which game they'll keep a clean sheet in. They might even concede in all 3, to be honest. I don't rate their defence at all. Van de Ven, I don't know why people are buying him. He's also not yellow flagged. That is my stuff up. He is not yellow flagged. I apologise for that. I don't know why the yellow flag's there. I think that was because originally it was on Gabriel and then I moved it around and completely forgot to take it off. My apologies. Ballard, I don't mind it, but I'd be buying Mukiele instead. He's cheaper. He's actually 0.4 million cheaper. And to be honest with you, I think the goal threat's pretty similar and I think they're both going to be great moving forward. But you can save a little bit of money. Most transfers out. Dan Burn, all I can say about you used up all your credit from the goal that you scored last season on free hit. It was the week where everyone was free hitting 34. When Dan Burn scored that 15-pointer for me in game week 34, he literally rose all good faith in him with that red card against Brentford. It was the most pathetic red card to concede. Goodbye, good riddance. I will not be buying him again. I don't care. Something would have to happen. A storm would have to brew and I'd have to lose my brain in order to buy Dan Burn again. Good riddance. It was the quickest transfer I've done all season, getting rid of that man out of my team. Gabriel, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the 12 points as captain and then I didn't enjoy the 1 point as captain the week after, and good riddance as well. Gahey, yeah, this is interesting. Gahey only just snuck outside the top 7 players for transferred in as well. I think he's going to be fine. We'll talk about him. I cover him in the yellow flag section a bit, but I'm surprised people are selling him with the fixture that's got there. I'd be really waiting for the press conference from Glasner before moving him out. Pedro Porro and Van de Ven, it makes sense. They've got horrible fixtures for the foreseeable future. They're easy sells. I'm in disbelief why the 6th most transferred defender in is Van de Ven. What do people... Do people really think he's just going to keep scoring goals? I don't think so. And this is the conundrum. Timber was higher up in the transfers out column until obviously Gabriel pretty much almost has been confirmed out. He's 6th most transferred out. I don't know how his price rose. It must have been a lot of transfers in compared to transfers out, but yeah. And then Calafiori, I think he'll be fine. And I don't know why people are selling him. People are panicking. I reckon he'll be fine. That was a typical international break injury from my knowledge. So on to the midfield transfers now, and my boy, our Brian, Manchester United's Brian and Bumo, top of the pile this week again, which is scary because it means he might blank against Everton. Don't captain him, folks. But he should be great. Between now and AFCON, Man United's fixtures from an attacking perspective are brilliant, and I can see them scoring multiple goals in almost every single game, maybe outside of the Palace game next week. But I think they'll still score against Palace next week anyway, because Palace are going to be tired. Man United will not be, and I think they'll take advantage of that. I think he's great. No problems there. Doku, Pep Roulette, he looked great against Liverpool, but there's every chance he gets benched. It's always the way with Pep Roulette. You just don't know. I'll be saying the same thing about Foden next week when I buy him myself, but it is a risk. But if he plays, he has looked amazing. He's looked more consistent this year, and when he plays, he looks like he's going to haul every time he plays. So I don't mind it. Bit of a risky play, and I like a bit of risk, so why not? Rice is the 2nd top scoring midfielder in the game. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But he's going to be great. Let's be honest. He is going to be great, and I think he will continue to be great, and he'll just continue to tick over. Caicedo, I reckon he gets benched. He's been travelling around the world on international duty. Chelsea cannot afford for him to go down. Surely he gets rested against Burnley and starts on the bench. With Barcelona in a couple of days early, I just wouldn't be buying him. I just wouldn't be buying him at 6.1. I just think, why buy him at 6.1 when you could buy Xhaka for 5.1? Literally offers the same thing, and I don't understand why he'd waste an extra million. Is the honest answer. Yeah. Szoboszlai, I'm shocked that he's in the top seven transferred in players in the midfield. Why? How is he a better pick than Sarr, who comes in at number 7? How? On what planet is he a better pick than Sarr? The goal threat is almost non-existent when you compare his stats to Sarr's. His output is almost non-existent compared to Sarr's. You're relying on the DC points, and most of his DC points have come when he's been playing at right back, and now Bradley's playing there, and Frimpong's on the journey back. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get the Szoboszlai pick at all. Sarr, I think brilliant. I'm surprised he's not right near the top with the Wolves fixture this week. I mean, Crystal Palace's run of fixtures is sexy, let's be honest. Then the most transferred out, Kudos. I'm surprised. Well, I get why people are selling him. He's now back to his original starting price. The fixtures are no good for Tottenham, and the Tottenham attack outside of Kudos is pretty damn woeful. And it's a hard fixture. I think he'll be fine, and I think he'll be fit, and I think he'll play, but I understand why people are moving him on. Reinders makes sense. He's just been god-awful of recent times. It's now lightning and thunder going on outside, so I'll try not to be too distracted. Semenyo, this is not the week to be selling him unless Iraola comes out and said he's no good. For that reason, I think he's perfectly fine, and he should be good. Enzo, ditto. He could be benched against Burnley, but I think realistically, surely he plays. I think he'll be fine. But again, it's one to monitor. I think post this week, I'd be looking to sell both Enzo and Semenyo. They're definitely on the chopping block moving forward. Grealish, I don't mind the Everton fixtures. The problem is that if Grealish is not passing it to Ndiaye, or Ndiaye is not passing it to Grealish, the other blokes aren't scoring because Beto and Barry have been woeful. So that's the problem with both of them. They're supplying for idiots who don't know how to finish a biscuit. So that's problematic. That doesn't matter which way you try and crumble the cookie. If the cookie doesn't want to go in the net, it's not going in the net and you're not going to get returns. Mo Salah, I'm surprised people are selling. I'm surprised he's the 6th most transferred out. It is probably a lot of people on wildcard probably transferring him out. But if you've held him this long, why on earth are you selling him now? Just wait till AFCON and hope that he delivers over the next 4 weeks. And then the writing's on the wall. All the Arsenal reinforcements are coming back, and yeah, it's probably time to abort ship. Let's be fair. And on to the forwards ones, and this is always interesting. I love the forwards. Thiago, by far clear, the most transferred in forward this week, just due to the value and the fact he's probably going to rise in price again. Mateta, I actually can't believe that Mateta is the 7th most transferred out, but the 2nd most. How is he? Why are people getting rid of him? With Wolves away, like he's not injured. I don't get it. Why are people selling him? Like, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Sometimes I look at the transferred in and transfers out, and I'm like, why are you selling this player? Am I missing something? I don't think I'm missing something. João Pedro, I get why people are buying. 1 week punt, looks really good against Burnley. Should be good. Hopefully he starts. Again, another one of those ones. Maresca Roulette is actually worse than Pep Roulette, I think, this season. You do not know what you're going to get from him. And sometimes it's literally a roll of the dice and that's who ends up playing. Haaland, I mean, it's hard to believe he's still in the most transferred in column, but somehow a lot of people still don't have him, obviously. Welbeck comes in at number 5. Ekitike and Cooper Jr. I mean, pretty relevant transfers, those ones outside of Welbeck. Ekitike, people taking punts, but Isak's now back in the mixer. So I don't know if that's really a place you want to go. And Cooper Jr., I wish I'd had my time back and just bought Thiago instead of Mark Gui and done some other moves when I did that 5 transfers and 1 hit. Because I feel like having a dead spot over the coming fixture pile-up is going to be problematic. and I'm actively looking to fix that myself this week with buying Thiago. Most chance it out, Walter Mata. I mean, you didn't get the business done against the easy teams. What hope have you got against the good ones? So that's an easy decision. And Wiss is almost banging down the door on the return. Gyökeres, we don't know. It's highly likely he could be still out. He could be back. Who knows? We'll have to wait for Arteta. But again, smoke and mirrors. What's he actually going to give us that's actually true ahead of the North London derby? Probably not much. Šeško is probably going to be out. Well, he's going to be out until pretty much Boxing Day. So he's an easy sell if you've still got him. Bowen, the fixtures turned pretty south and easy sell. Unfortunately, my boy Jared Bowen, see you later. Ekatike, fighting with Vizak, makes a lot of sense. João Pedro and Mateta, I don't know why he's selling this week. Either you know something I don't, and you've seen into the future, and they're both blanking, or you're making a massive error. So I don't know what else to say other than that. So we're doing something interesting starting this week on the Pubcast channel. So obviously, I just wanted to share this. These guys are going to be talking about more in general, but these guys, every week from now on, and I'll be covering this in the late mail normally than on this particular video, but I just wanted to give it a big up. So the Pubcast is on later tonight, and Kanji, who is on this graphic as well, he's the one in the middle bottom, and FPL Nightmare's on, as well as Trig, and obviously Gary, so the ones on the left. And then there's me and Roberto, who aren't on. So Roberto, he's picked McAllister because he watched Home Alone and thought that McAllister was a really good pick. So I don't know what to make of that. Roberto, good luck. I don't understand why you picked him. The stats are honestly horrible. I went with Garnacho, 1% owned this week. I think he could be really good. He's hit some form and his expected goal involvement per 90 is through the roof. But then I looked at Estavio, and if Estavio starts, he's almost averaging 1. He's actually averaging 0.95 XGI per 90, which is just ridiculously insane. I was like, oh my God, I think Kanji might have picked a winner here. Nightmare and Trig actually took the United blokes, Cunha and Ahmad, and Gary went with the review pick of Minte. That's his bet. Actually, it was going to go at Virgil, but Virgil obviously was over 5%. So he's had to default to Minte, who's exactly 4.9%. By the time this goes on the Pubcast, he might be over 5%, and Gary might be out of the running in the first week of this due to a technicality. But make sure you go and check out the Pubcast, 6 p.m. tonight. I'm not on it, but Nightmare, Trig, Gary, and Kanji on it. It should be a great show. So on to the flag players, and which ones do I think are going to miss? What are the updates? Are the flags correct? Let's dive into it. So Gabriel, I believe, should actually be a red flag, and from all reports, originally it looked like he had a thigh injury, then it was a groin, then it was a knee. Ornstein basically came out and said it could be 3 to 4 weeks, maybe even more. I think that means he's a red flag and he's a sell. That's pretty much what I think you need to know about that. Muniz, he should be a red flag because he's just undergone hamstring surgery. So this is actually really relevant because if you want to take a punt on Raul Jimenez, he's not going to be sharing minutes with anyone other than King because Muniz is going to be out until probably the new year with that hamstring surgery. That should be a red flag. And oh my God, that thunder was really close. Sorry, folks. Semenyo, yellow flag. This one is interesting. I'm not sure what to think. As I said, my gut feel says 70-30 he'll play and he'll be fine against West Ham. But Iraola is very honest, so we should know exactly on Friday about that. Calafiori, I'd say he's fine. I'd say Calafiori playing against Spurs is probably 90-10. 90% playing, 10% not. I think he'll be fine. Gahey, from all reports, hasn't been in training yet from what I've read as of Tuesday UK. So if he hasn't been in training yet, I would imagine he's still under quite a bit of a flag. So I'd say he's probably 50-50, and we'll wait to hear from Glasner about whether he will be involved against Wolves. Dan Burn, suspended. Just get rid of him. Do yourself a favour and just get rid. If you've got multiple transfers, just get rid of him. You won't regret it. Trust me, Newcastle on a downhill spiral. They're in Europe. They don't care about the league. That happened 2 years ago. It's happening again this year. Sorry, Newcastle fans. Sorry, Nightmare. Sorry, Gary. That's the truth. Šeško, as I said, that should be a red flag. He's going to be out probably until the Boxing Day clash, so he's an easy sell. Enzo and Neto, I believe, should be fine. It's more a case of, will Maresca start him? That is more the question there, more than are they available and fit. That's the problem. That is literally, I would imagine, if I could guess, I'd say they'd probably both start, and I'd say, on a percentage base, I'd say 70-30 for both of them. I think Neto's actually more likely to start than Enzo, just because of the fact that Cole Palmer still might not be quite right. But yeah, Paqueta, thank you for your service. If you've got him, see you later. 5.9, suspended. And the fixtures don't go very good after his suspension either, so an easy sell. Kudos, orange flags. See, this is the problem of FPL. They're too slow to react with the flags. I think Kudos is actually more a yellow. I reckon there's a strong likelihood he plays in the North London derby. Gyökeres, I think, is pretty accurate. I would suggest at this moment in time, it's 50-50 whether he's fit or not for that game against Spurs in the North London derby. But again, we'll have to wait for Maresca. We know that Maresca doesn't like really telling us facts most of the time. So again, that's one that's literally just going to be up in the air and you're really just hoping for the best. So Gabriel to who? And look, I shared this graphic in the Pubcast group chat and Nightmare was just laughing at me. He goes, how is anyone supposed to take this graphic seriously when you haven't got an Arsenal asset or a City asset on there? Now, I was originally going to put in Matheus Nunes instead of Van den Berg. Now, the reason why I haven't got any Arsenal players on here is because I think that most people either just buying Timber, so there's no point putting him on, or you're like me and you don't want to invest in Arsenal. So I picked these 4 blokes out. Now, I think that the masses, because all the other big content creators and FPL Review absolutely froths this bloke, and Virgil van Dijk is probably going to be the most transferred in defender by the deadline outside of Munoz. Because I think Munoz actually should be the most transferred in defender this week, based on the fixture and the fact that he plays at right wing. And when you look at all the numbers combined, why on earth would you pick him? If you didn't own him and you didn't have 3 Crystal Palace already, why would you not buy him? Like, all you have to do is look at the points per game, and Munoz is smoking the hell out of Virgil, Van den Berg, and Matty Cash. It's not even close. He's almost beaten Virgil van Dijk by 2 points a game. And the fixtures are arguably better than what Liverpool have got. Like, let's be honest. And Nightmare basically was saying, no one's going to take you seriously with Van den Berg. Now, I'm going to talk you through my strategy. So my strategy is to actually have Mukiele, Nunes, Van den Berg, I'm giving you a hot tip for who I'm going with here, Munoz and Matheus Nunes. Those will be my 5 defenders at the end of next week. Like, that will be the 5. And I will only be playing 3 of them a week. And yes, I take on board what Nightmare said. The Brighton away is not an amazing fixture. Arsenal away, definitely not an amazing fixture. And Tottenham away, definitely not an amazing fixture. But the 3 home games are literally the best kind of home games you can have in the league. You've got Burnley at home, Leeds at home, Wolves at home. I actually feel like that Wolves at home game is actually meant to be away, but I could be wrong. I feel like one of them is away. I feel like the Wolves one is actually away. But if they're all at home, I'm a genius. And I'm telling you, there is a 15-pointer, maybe even a 17-pointer, and either 13, 16, and 17. Now, if you look at the key stats here, Van den Berg has actually scored 7 points less than Van Dijk this season, and the reason why is because of the DC points and the fact that Brentford have conceded a few more goals than Liverpool in the games where they have conceded. That is the reason why, and obviously Virgil van Dijk kept 1 extra clean sheet. So 1 extra clean sheet, 1 extra DC, and 1 extra point from not conceding as many goals. That's the difference in price. Sorry, the difference in points. When you look at the difference in price, it's 1.4 million, which goes a long way. In my team, it goes from me being able to upgrade Gui to Thiago or Gui to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. That is the difference in price and quality that I can spend on the rest of my team by literally getting someone that I think's got better fixtures over the next 6 as a whole compared to Virgil van Dijk. Now, people will sit there and say Nottingham Forest at home and Sunderland at home are easy fixtures. They're not. They are not easy fixtures. Not under Dyche, not under Sunderland's the way they play. And I would argue that West Ham away for Liverpool, I reckon they concede there. So I think potentially they might keep a clean sheet against Leeds because Leeds' attack is rubbish. But outside of that, I think they keep 1 in the next 3 and the Leeds game. Whereas for Brentford, I reckon they keep 3 in the next 6. And I reckon there's just as much chance when you look at the XG per 90 that Van den Berg is going to smoke Virgil in scoring a goal in this period of time as well. He's also much better for expected assists. I just think when you compare those two, I'd save 1.4 million and go with Van den Berg because I think Brentford are actually in better form than Liverpool as well. And this season, if we haven't learned already It's about form, not the fixture. And fixture, we've sat there and watched at the start of the season, Nottingham Forest, brilliant fixtures, Aston Villa, brilliant fixtures. Then we've looked at other teams that had brilliant fixtures. Guess what happened? They didn't perform in the great fixtures. Why? Because the teams weren't in form. That Newcastle, great point, example. I went double Newcastle defence thinking West Ham, Brentford, easy clean sheets. What happened? They conceded 3 goals in each of those games. Sometimes this season, I think, with all the extra games and all the pile-up, you have to pick players that are in form teams. Brentford are a team that I actually consider to be in form. Matty Cash, Aston Villa's defence, also I would argue is quite in form. And Munoz, 5 clean sheets. Matty Cash, 4 clean sheets. 2 goals for Matty Cash, 1 goal and 3 assists for Munoz. If you were after the attacking returns, I'd be going there. They've scored more points than Virgil. Yeah, I think that you need to think about outside the box. This is a moment. It's been thrown up by the fact that Gabriel, a high-owned asset, has been injured. This is a moment where you can differentiate. Like, for example, I've just said that Vandenberg, 7 points less than Virgil on the season. You could save 1.4, upgrade a different part of your team, a GUI to a Thiago, with that 1.4 million you save. Just think about it. If you're going down from Gabriel to Vandenberg, huge saving. Gabriel to Virgil, you're not getting much money in the bank. That's what I would say. The fixtures there, you could argue the case for all 4 of these players. You could even argue the case for like a Mateus Nunes or a Vardiol or just another Arsenal defender. But the Arsenal fixtures are no good. And then you're running against Pep Roulette. The good thing about these 4 assets, they're all nailed in their teams. And unless they get injured, they're going to be playing every single week, which has to count for something as well. So onto a free hit draft this week. And I did cover this in the video on the weekend, but just really quickly, I've still covering it here. Obviously, there is no Arsenal, no Liverpool, other than Mo Salah in here. Mo Salah's the captain. And I just think I've gone with the assets I think will start. And then I put ones on the bench, like Thiago and Luka Dean, who I think will be there and available if Maresca decides to do some dodgy nonsense and rest some of his players in that game. Outside of that, I think it's a really good free hit draft. I know a lot of people are on it because it's obviously the international break. You've got a lot of flags and stuff. Again, that comes in at 101 million. I put that together in a team that literally only had a very small squad value and there was nothing left in the bank. So again, if you needed to make sacrifices, you could easily go Munoz to a Richards or something like this, or you could just drop someone else down to a lower priced option, like for example Bruno Fernandes to Cunha or something like this, if you were so inclined. And lastly, on to the updated wildcard draft. Now, I made the other wildcard draft with Gabriel and a few other bits and pieces and Rice and all that in there. Obviously, now that he's gone down, there's had to be changes made. And this actually comes in. This is with my own team. I put it together. I had no money left in the bank when I put this together, right? No money. Comes in at 102.1 million squad value. Now, I know people are going to sit there and go, you're an absolute tool. Where are the Arsenal players? Where are the Liverpool players? And where are the Chelsea players? Now, I think Arsenal, with all the assets coming back, I think there's going to be too much rotation for me to sit there and comfortably like go there. Also, the fixtures aren't that flash. Chelsea, Maresca roulette is probably the worst type of roulette in the entire league at the moment. Like, it's really hard to gauge who he's going to play from week to week. He loves rotation so much. I just think it's like outside of this week, you can make a case you're better off just probably avoiding it completely. Then Liverpool, it comes down to, well, they're not in good form. Like, you've lost 5 of the last 6 games in the league. What asset do you actually really want from there? Now, I know the things are coming. You've got double United attack. Yes, they've actually both been returning on most weeks over the last 5 or 6 weeks. And I've had them both since game week 6. And it's been a pretty nice ride of points over that period of time. Now, I get that the City triple up is the definition of taking Pep Roulette. But Phil Foden has been racking up 90 minutes galore this season. And it looks like the way Pep wants to play this year, Foden's in that team. And with the fixtures they've got coming up, it reminds me of last season when I took on Phil Foden around this game week. It was probably actually slightly later. I think it was about game week 16 last year through to game week 21. And he exploded and he was the best scoring player over that 5-6 weeks. I think he can do the same with the fixtures that are coming up for Manchester City. I wouldn't even be surprised if he returns against Newcastle. Matheus Nunes, as I talked about before, he has the highest upside. And I just think that with the squad depth you've got here, and obviously this is in preparation for a particular bench boost down the line as well, where obviously Brentford have a good fixture. Like, look at that bench. Like, it's a really good bench. You are able to sit there and play it on a week. You're not relying on promoted teams outside of Dubravka in goal. So I don't mind it. And if you've got really good squad value, maybe you can go with a Bart Simpson at 4.4 instead of Dubravka and really ride the coattails on a bench boost over the coming weeks before fixing your bench up around the game week 16 mark when you get the free transfers. So I don't mind it. And I just think other people will go, why have you got triple Brentford? Those 3 fixtures are the 3 best fixtures you can have in the next 6 weeks. And I think that from an attacking perspective, Kevin Shard and Thiago look amazing, and they can literally return in any of those weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if one of those 2 returned. And I just remember last season when I had Wissa and Mbumo, that double Brentford attack was unbelievably good for my rank the entire time I owned them. And I feel like potentially Shard or even Dango Atara or Damsgaard plus Thiago could be your ticket to huge rank rises over the next 6 or 10 weeks with that Brentford attack. So that's why I like it. And I just wanted to share it because I have updated it because obviously we've now got the injured players. There is no flag players in this lineup from my knowledge. So you're literally locked. And I think if I had my time again, I would go back and be like, you said game week 12. You did game week 12 last year. It worked, an absolute treat. That's why you finished in the top 5K. I would go back to myself in game week 6 and say, you're an idiot. Just take the hit and keep your wild card till now. And I just wish I'd done that because this is the kind of team I would be going with. And I feel like this is what would send someone skyrocketing up the ranks exceptionally quickly over the coming weeks. So that brings us to the end of a bumper show. Hopefully I've done some thought-provoking now. Hopefully I've covered the flag players and the... Look, FPL at the moment is literally full of people putting out Gabriel injured. Yeah, we all know he's injured, folks. Like, give us something original. So I'm hoping that today what I've provided with you has been something a little bit original and hopefully got you thinking about assets that are not going to be covered on other channels. Like, no one's going to be talking about the Brentford defence. And I just think that potentially that's probably somewhere we should be looking over the coming weeks. Again, if you've enjoyed that, smash a like on the video, leave us a comment, and if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button. I'll be back tomorrow with my team selection for game week 12. And yes, I might be looking at a hit this week and next week as well, FYI. I'm back in business, baby. I'm feeling good. The nose and the nasaling joints are all starting to get a little bit more clear. And I'm excited. The Make Mail will be back Friday as well, 4 p.m. UK time. So keep your eyes out for that because I'll have everything you need to know for the game week ahead covered in that, including all the press updates as they come in. I've been FPL D-Unit. Enjoy your Wednesday night.